Hi there, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show as City battle to keep their World Cup winning captain. But if he goes, will Enzo Maresca turn to a familiar face as his replacement? Well, James Savundra and Mark McCallum are here to tell us and bring us right up to date with all from today's transfer news.
Maresca, with regards to who his dream replacement would be, and his answer was Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea. Someone who he's worked with, someone who he knows all about, someone who he knows could potentially do that job at the heart of that.
Someone who'd cost a lot of money.
He would cost a lot of money, but our information is, and James covers Chelsea in great detail, is that he's not one of the untouchables at Stamford Bridge. There are a list of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 players that they consider untouchable, irreplaceable, not for sale at any price. However, Enzo Fernandez potentially could be one of those players available. It's still going to be a deal worth, between 100 and 120 million pounds, because that's what he cost Chelsea. But he is someone that maybe might be on the radar of Manchester City and Maresca. If you sell a player like Rodri for 60 million and you have to go and spend 120 million, actually, you're getting a midfielder who's a lot younger, who's got Premier League experience, an international Argentina, and he's going to cost you 60 million pounds. So it might be really good trading by Manchester City, and we've seen that so much that clubs like to be clever and make sure that whilst they, might spend 200 or 300 million in the window, but if they sell 150 million pounds worth of players as well, then actually that net spend is quite strong. And that may be where they look at this and say, well, this is a sensible piece of business for us from a commercial and financial perspective, not necessarily from a footballing one.
Yeah, OK. Well, of course, if they get Fernandes, it's going to cost them a lot of money. £16.3 million plus add-ons. Now, he's signed a 5-year deal, and Chelsea view him, he's 28 mind, as a replacement for Marc Cucurella, who of course left for Real Madrid for £55.8 million this summer.
Yeah, I play in Spain all my life, and for me, Premier League is the best league in the world right now. A lot of quality, intensity, and I think that it's the best league for me.
Have you managed to speak to Xavi yet?
Yeah, I speak with Xavi. I stay here thanks to Xavi. For me, it's one of the best coaches right now. And he was also one of the best football players. And it's an honor to be here. I speak with Xavi, and he say that feel good and do the same, not change.
So he's in. Now, we always go on about how bloated the Chelsea squad is. So surely, James, it's all about getting people out the door now.
Yeah, and they've been busy working on outgoings already in this transfer window. They've already sold around £200 million worth of talent already, and we would expect there to be plenty more sales. There's been a number of players who've been up for sale in this transfer window. Some of these players behind us are players that Chelsea aren't actively looking to sell, but this is the valuation they've placed on the likes of Enzo Fernandez there in the middle for £120 million. There's some really eye-catching figures here. Malo Gusto, £75 million for a player who's unlikely to start for Chelsea this season. Liam Delap scored 2 goals last season at Chelsea. It's failed to work out for him so far after signing from Ipswich for £30 million.
James, they're just making up numbers here, aren't they? Are they going to get £50 million for Liam Delap? £75 million for Gusto? Come on, they're just making up numbers, surely.
It seems unlikely, but Chelsea have been world-class at selling players over the course of the last few years. In the last 5 seasons, they've bought in around £1 billion in terms of player sales. They know how to trade players. The thing they need to do now is put together a winning team on the pitch. But this is the sort of money they're looking at for a number of players in this transfer window. 2 players there, Axel Disasi, £25 million. Benoit Badiashile, there's been interest from Napoli in him. Those are 2 players you would expect to depart in this transfer window. The interesting thing is going to be with Danny Welbeck coming in, which of these 2 strikers remains? Will Nicholas Jackson stay? Will Liam Delap stay? Will both players go? Because Chelsea don't have European football this season to contend with. But one thing we know with Chelsea, they do find a way of getting their valuation for these players. I'm not saying they'll get £50 million for Liam Delap in this transfer window, but they won't let him go on a cheap. I would expect somebody like Delap, if they're not able to get that sort of valuation, to maybe go on a loan. It feels like that's what he needs right now. But Chelsea have been very impressive when it comes to sales. There'll be plenty of sales. Last season, £300 million. They became the first club in Premier League history to bring in over £300 million when it comes to player sales. And I think they're fairly confident they can match that again this summer.
Mark, do those numbers look realistic to you?
You know, transfers are all about buying and selling. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 clubs that all want the same player, then you can command a higher price. Like with Jed Spence, if there's only one team at the table, then you just have to accept it. And I'm convinced, and I've said this before on air, Chelsea have almost 2 business models with regards to the football side of their club. They buy players that they can put into the first team and become big key players for Chelsea. And they buy players with perhaps low release clauses that they feel they can sell on and make money on. So they trade well. And as James has outlined with the numbers, they have been exceptional at selling players. I would probably say there's 1 or 2 that are realistic, 1 or 2 that are unrealistic. It just depends on the market at the time. And yeah, Chelsea have been clever with it. So let's see what happens, because, you know, they've come in with some bold ideas and some new initiatives, and they've been creative with money and contracts, and they've run the club very differently. Ultimately, they're going to be judged on what they put in the cabinet, and financially, are they sound? And there are some question marks over both at the moment.
And that is one thing to be really clear on as well. Chelsea are aware they need to comply with UEFA restrictions in this transfer window as well. Last year, they entered a multi-year agreement with UEFA following a breach, which means they need to come out of transfer windows with a profit. And they'll be aware there is work to do, but they're very firm and very happy to comply with those UEFA restrictions. I think the likes of Liam Delap and Nicholas Jackson, when you consider the dearth of strikers in the Premier League, you can understand why they are trying to charge such a premium for these players. And it's important to point out they aren't actively looking to sell the likes of Enzo Fernandez, but if you want him, that's what you need to pay for him, £120 million.
Fair enough.